A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining for today's webinar. The topic for today's session is everything practice management. As I already mentioned, it's a 1 hour of professionalism CPD, and the title, attendance link, credits, all the details will be shared on the chat window towards the end of the session. And so, for the ones who are joining in a little late, please don't worry, you would have the recording of the session as early as Monday. If for any reason you're not able to hear me, sorry, you have to excuse me as my audio from phone is not working today and I'm using the computer audio. Um, I request you to probably wear your headset or something so you might hear me a little better. Um, let's get into the agenda for today's session, as a few of you could have attended this earlier with us. But this is one of the classic topics that I would say from uLaw's end that we brought up for CPD credits. This is a topic that would enable you to learn everything about your practice management. One of the reasons why it's called everything practice management is that we cover vast area of topics or diversity of topics here, including client intake to your time management and personal management, etc. But I will have my core emphasize on the first three topics, talking about client intake, file management, and financial management. Even though I'm going to talk about other topics as well that you see here: business management, personal management, time management, and professional management. The first three, the emphasis for the rest of it. So, starting off with client intake. Now, if you're a uLaw user, things are pretty smooth with the online client intake form or the client portal or using the virtual verification forms that we have. There's several things that have taken a new place there where you can explore. Probably I can show you towards the end of the session, but talking about in general, let's say the other users or other platform users, or you're manually doing the client intake still. For people like them, what do you do in terms of client intake? That did you basically do a physical client intake, bring your client into the office, or you do a virtual intake? Whatever it is, there are a few steps that Law Society has laid out for you to follow. Step number one, make sure to record all the conversations, all the details of you and your client from the consultation that you have with them initially, and ensure that you obtain their proof of ID for verification. Make sure that you get started off with the conflict check as part of the first step towards keeping yourself compliant with Law Society. Once you're done with that, and then you know whether you're going to take up this file or not, which is when you start determining how do you plan to charge them. Do you plan to get a retainer? Do you plan to get a retainer agreement drafted, signed with them, get the money into the trust account, finish the work, raise an invoice, move the money from trust to the general, or you're someone who doesn't have a trust account? So you're going to determine what is the fee and let them know an estimate. So towards the end of the work, they don't get any surprises and you raise an invoice and get paid into the general account. So there are a couple of ways in which you can handle the fee and the methodology of the whole accounting scene here. But it is important for you to determine the steps much ahead of time. Let's say the initial consultation that you talk to the client, you should be able to arrive at all of these small minor informations, but trust me, these go a little long way in establishing the trust relationship with your client. So you don't go back and forth. You're very clear with your conversation. You let them know that, hey, you know what, as discussed in our first meeting, these are things that I want you to adhere to, or these are the things that I want you to keep in mind as we move forward. I would need your first installment here. I would need your replenishment of retainer here. Draft all the documents. Like I said, if a uLaw user, forget about drafting. You have everything in the program under the compliances under those respective tabs. But if not, yes, think about getting it online or drafting it yourself using, several tools that we have today outside too. But of course, once you arrive at those stages where, you're sending out the first piece of document to your client, other than the client intake form where a specific agreement you're getting into place with your client, and that is the retainer agreement. In the retainer agreement, you be very concise and clear as to what you would like to let them know about this particular arrangement, whether you are um, asking them to pay you upfront, or you're asking them to pay in a couple of installments, or you're asking them to, you're also letting them know their responsibilities, and there's a whole bunch of things that you could be aware of. And over here, you have uh, you have basically certain things that you can cover in a retainer agreement. I mean, it could be as vast as you want to, but nobody wants to go pages by pages for several hours together. But you want to make sure it is nice and concise, precise, but at the same time, um, the list should be covering all the important points, such as nature and scope of matter, to the risks associated with the communication, or what happens in terms of termination of the retainer agreement. And what are the client's responsibilities? What are your responsibilities as a legal professional? What are the schedule and course of representation? Everything entered in there, because trust me, this is mostly the binding agreement between you and your client in terms of taking it forward, right? So, as a part of client intake, service, and communication, two things very important I feel for you to do on top of your mind, irrespective of whether you know you're going to do other things or not, is to do the conflict check, and of course the virtual verification being a part of it, right? If you're doing a virtual intake, and yes, I would always club client intake with virtual verification, and then the retainer agreement, because this is what, like I said, is more like a binding agreement between you and your client. So make it extensive, at the same time precise. So when I mean extensive, try to include as many information or details as possible, but keep it simple, not too complicated. Okay, moving on. Let's say now you have your client intake done. Uh, you have imported the client into your firm details, as in like the um, your software, or basically whichever platform you're using to do the intake. It's done. You have collected the retainer, deposited into the trust, provided them with the receipt. Now, what is the next step? Is to open the file, of course. To open the file, what do you first need? Have a checklist in place. Make sure you go one by one. Uh, could be opening a matter, having a file number that is unique, and ensuring you maintain separate files in a chronological order, of course, and you have all the personal records of this client in the file itself, like their driver's license, everything. So, and other than that, you also have personal recording of all of these interactions. Like, you have to basically document everything that you plan to from day one, and you have proper organization through numeric indexing. And when you mean cross indexing, you have cross referencing of the file. So, you don't get confused even if the same client has two matters or so. While the file management happens, the docketing with all the AI tools now could be made simple, but at the same time, you have them all precisely done for that date, and it's all very specific from there. And ensure is no confusion between the docketing and um, the billing part. So you have the end date and all the money that has come into your bank account has been matched. You have the money that has come into the trust entered into the under the retainer, and if you have any disbursements spent, you enter them, and then it becomes easy for you for in a financial management later, where you have all the respective ledgers and journals that gets printed out with the appropriate information. Because when you are handling the financial management, it is kind of linked with the file management as well, because you determine the fee and how do you plan to charge them, how do you plan to invoice them. All of those probably decided in the first two steps of client intake, service communication, and the file management. Whereas when you come into the financial management step, it is mostly about what has happened in the real life. Have you received a retainer? Have you punched it into your software or the program? Have you provided the client with a receipt? As so all of these form part of the file management and financial management. Alongside with it, you have certain rules that talks about uh, delivering the invoices to client on time, and you also have systematic tracking of overpayments, anything that has been paid in excess. Like you have the general accounts through general receipts and disbursements entries. And you also have maintenance of original bank statements and books that needs to be maintained, like in terms of any deposits that was directly made into the bank, any bank teller receipts you have, any canceled checks, detailed deposit slips, preparation of financial statements, everything that you need is entered in there. While that happens, you also simultaneously start off with recording all the receipts and payments that came through the general account and the trust account, because you have to make sure to replicate what happened in your bank. So maintain the books, like you have a deposit that comes into your trust, you immediately enter it as a retainer or other trust deposit. Um, and when you take that money out, it should be either billed to your client as services rendered, or letting them know that this was part of the disbursement. Okay. Now, as part of the financial management, even though we have the ledgers and journals showing you the transactions of a particular client that came in and went out, um, those journals and ledger also shows you what was expended that month, or what was attributed to that particular disbursement, and all of those. And over here, you would also see that as part of the financial management, you have the monthly retainer receipts and monthly trust reconciliations and general reconciliations to be done. And when it comes to financial management, again, you have all of the invoices that needs to be sent to the client on time. However, there's one more part there that talks about uh, any financial documents, uh, let's say statements and other things that needs to be um, sent to the client on a quarterly basis or an annual basis. So mostly some of these criminal matters and other matters, family matters, etc., that goes beyond a quarter, you are obligated to send your client a statement showing what has happened in their account so far and what needs to be done from their end. Talking about financial management and file management, it doesn't go well if the basic one about expense management and business management takes place. With business management, starting off with a proper software, an efficient one that allows you to maintain your legal, professional management, practice management, alongside with keeping yourself compliant and also servicing your clients. So, a software that allows you to do all of this at the same time is a must. Making sure you have all the files secured, maintained with regular backups, and a robust security device being used, where you could ensure that all your data, especially your clients' data, which is confidential, are also being secured. And most important of all is a cloud software or a cloud-based program that will allow you to remotely work and access to your clients' files, emails, messages from anywhere. Next part of it is about the professional management, talking about important things such as completing your CPD hours, which is what you guys are doing now, ensuring that you are making your membership payments to the associations regularly, and of course, in maintaining your memberships with the professional association, reviewing new legislations and case laws, and also reviewing the code of conduct and guidelines to it. Moving on to time management, all of this is not done without the best time management here. Talking about having a to do list, having a calendar synced, having all your non billable dockets, like any of those that you have probably done, and ensuring that you have all the active files managed well, all the inactive files and everything to be marked as complete or closed or something. Next one talks about personal management. Now, personal management definitely is something that has a direct impact on your professional practice management, because I feel if you are not charged enough, if you're not, you know, at your own peace of mind at the personal level, I'm sure that you will not be enjoying your practice, or you'll not be giving your best to the practice in general. So it is important for you to take your regular breaks, make sure that you have a nice work life balance, and that you're or keeping an eye or track on the time that you've spent overall. Take breaks when vacation every now and then. Basically, you know ensure that you have an overall satisfaction in practicing whatever you're doing at the same time. Also see the little success in that discipline, and that all of this in turn contributes to great practice management. So if you are someone who are also very similar to me, where you don't apply this in general, this is probably a sweet reminder for you to go and focus on your personal management at the same time. That would in turn show a beautiful effect on your overall time management. And then now, talking about benefits of practice management. So I don't know how many of you here are using the program, using ours or anything else, but if you are someone who's not using a program at all, if you're someone who is using an Excel spreadsheet, or you have your own manual method of data entry and stuff, it is definitely high time you invest on a practice management, making sure that all of these are basically your factors to consider, that you can practice from anywhere, you should be compliant with law society or respective law society, and pretty efficient, that will allow you to use all the automated features using AI tools and stuff that would maximize the efficiency by using all those tools available in the software, which will in turn save you time and you could use it elsewhere. Also, of course, considering the cost and other things. So overall, if you are someone who wants to focus on your overall practice management, everything practice management is something that focuses on right from the client intake to your daily operations, to which is file management, matter management, financial management, and matter status to be updated every now and then, making sure you have mark all the active files, inactive files, and more. In this part, I would also like to mention to you that many of you would have your financial management achieved by connecting your banks to the program and having all your, um, expenses and disbursements up to date. Uh, One of this here that talks about having your disbursements up to date. I don't think we spoke earlier, where your disbursement management goes client wise in the client file, updating the details as to what was paid out of the bank or what was paid out of the your personal account or anything, and ensuring everything to be added every now and then, so you don't miss out on these payments, and that would in turn help you to keep a track of all of these client side expenses. For a better health of your firm, what are some things that I would recommend you to do? Small things, but that would go a long way is, uh, like I already said, get your banks connected, get your expenses added, your income added, client files created, but when completed, close them, mark it as done or inactive or closed or whatever. And also ensuring that you have your all your expenses entered in, right? So when you're entering in expenses, you also bifurcate them as your office expense and the disbursements respectively. Sometimes even drawings to be entered as drawings, office expenses to be entered as office expenses under the respective heads. So you understand the state of your practice by making all these taking all these measures that would help you to in turn know what are your in actual expense for that month, which division is that you have expended more, or which area is it that you have basically earned more, if you have a respective area of practice that you multiple area of practices that you work with. So everything counts, everything is part of this particular analytics that you want to build for your own firm. Now, with all this data that you have generated, obviously, you can slowly take your practice to the next level and know what are your strengths, what are your challenges, and start working on it slowly, because we don't have ample time to address your firm's I won't say needs, but your firm's requirements. But sometimes when you focus on an area to improve by analyzing what has gone through in the past quarter or past year also, you would get a fair idea from the comparisons to know where you need to work on more. So matter analytics, of course, the same thing applies to accounting and financial data level too. So basically, analytics helps you to gauge your firm's health, help you take measures to the next level, and will allow you to in turn, work on all of this simultaneously. So Quickly moving on to calendar management. Over here, we also talk about syncing your personal calendars with your official calendars, having a weekly view or a daily view, and managing your calendar better with filters, ensuring you and your colleague or your coworkers, your assistants, all of you have your own calendar filters, ensuring you don't bother each other's view, or you at least want the ones you at least want the respective ones to be viewing the events for this particular time of the year. Monthly, weekly, daily view, everything really makes a huge difference when it comes to monitoring what are your upcoming events, what are your doc matters that needs attention to be docketed. Like, you had a meeting, you had a client meeting. When you use a program like uLaw, I would prompt you saying that, hey, you had a client meeting today, would you like to docket this? And then straight from the calendar you could go and docket it. Everything should look good there, right? I will be walking you through all of this from uLaw in the next few minutes. But in the meantime, what is something that we all struggle to save time with, especially being a legal practitioner? And, when it comes to automating your own code forms, or pre-populating few fields that would save you some time. All of these are provided by the software that would in turn save you time. At the same time, also stay compliant with law society, and help you uh, be on top of all of these files. So especially with uLaw's form generators, code forms, and other forms, it is only going to help you streamline things and be on top of these files, because obviously you get to save more time, and in turn you can manage your practice better with all of these features that are available to help you manage your accounting, keep a track of analytics, ensure you're compliant with Law Society by downloading all of these reporting tools, reports from these tools that are available. And end of the day, also satisfy your clients with the client facing reports or client facing documents that they need. So let me quickly jump into uLaw to show you all certain features that would, help you all to save the time, and at the same time satisfy your client and stay compliant with law society. So as part of everything practice management, you definitely need to keep in mind that it is vast. It is also at the same time um, different for every practitioner or every area of practice. So Some might not have a trust account. Some might only practice using trust account. They might not use general for even disbursements sometime. So every every firm practices differently. So take it as it comes, and at the same time have few basics as a staple. Beyond that, you could definitely work around with what is available in the software, and also ensure that you're compliant with law society at the same time. So starting off with what you see here, is dashboard, of course, shows you all the important updates in the program. But let's move on to contacts. Now, we were talking about client intake, service, and communication in our first few slides. That says that when you are someone who would be intaking a client virtually, I mean, trust me, these days, not many people walk into your office, especially post 2020, after the COVID era. I don't think we all even still got back to that physically going into work, or even though people are slowly getting back. But we are still comfortable with certain things that can be done virtually. Why not, right? So um, I am going to show you a couple ways in which you can do intake virtually. Number one, you can click on, if you're a uLaw user, of course, all of this is applicable. You can click on document generation, click on client intake, download a client intake form. There are different um, formats, but I'm picking a very generic one. You can send it to the client and ask them, uh, to fill it out, send it back to you. So once they send it back to you with all the information and you can go over it, simply click on validate. And when everything is good, you can go back into uLaw, click on import contact and upload the client intake form so that the information is out here now. So once it is here, then the client contact will be created automatically. This is one way. The other way that I would now even more help you to save time is to click on the client portal, enter the client's email ID, enter a little secret key that you have probably entered in the settings, and then click on generate the link, and you would be sent an email, as well as your client would be sent an email too. Okay, and then you can also choose email to client and yourself. Okay, so let's say I want to just start off with this. I will just add in my email ID for an instant. Okay, basically I'm going to email myself the link to complete the client intake form. Okay, so now I have received a link, and probably I would get to see all of this right now. Okay. For some reason I was locked out. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, we would like to learn more about your firm. So your client receives a link and an email like this. Click on start here. And then let's say your client starts entering information. Okay, all the mandatory information at least they're filling out. Okay, let's say this was to a friend. I'm giving you my driver's license, also the email ID. So they authorize and submit the form. So once they submit the form, you would get an email. I am guessing that client intake was done. It's all completed. You get an email from us. So you can go back in and click here. And you would be able to find the client's name right here. Okay. Now you could do as part of client intake. First thing that you would do is a conflict check. Make sure there's no conflict. Once the conflict check is done, you can go back into uLaw. You can click on, action again if you want to do the virtually verify their, their driver's license verification. You can just accept everything and then initiate it. Right now it says the search initiation successful. So you click OK and then you click on, let's say once everything is done, and then you come click on action and ask them for a status. It'll say it's pending or awaiting consent and something like that. So you have everything done here within less than 2 minutes, right? Okay, so now we're going to click on the downloads. I had the client conflict screening done, so I'd like to show that. Okay, so there you go. Have it open. For some reason it's taking a bit of time. Yeah, there you go. So you have all the first name conflict here, the last name conflict. There's no specific conflict here that matches exactly with the name, so you're going to go ahead and open the file. Client conflict without adding to contacts? No, unfortunately no. What you could do is just add them under add new contact, and if you don't want to add under client, just add them under my contacts, so they come under contacts. So they're not under clients, so you just run a conflict check, and then if they are okay to go under clients, you can then move them into clients by clicking on group and move them to clients. But yeah, you cannot technically do a conflict search without adding a client information. Again, going into opening the matter. Once the matter is open, you just add in the title. If you have a file number, hourly rate, everything entered in there. Okay, and then you can click on start adding events and add in the dockets. So starting off with, let's say we have a couple of dockets saying that, I met with a client, so I have a client intake done, and then you would like to bill them for that. And then you have a drafting work completed, documentation done, so it took you about like 42 minutes. Okay, and you want to, my bad. And you want to bill them for the same time. Okay, then you can use the AI tools to describe. You can speak into the mic. Okay, or you can even type and say you want to use AI tools. You can use the AI tools and elaborate it to show the client what do you want to discuss in the first meeting. And you click on save. The best part here is before docketing, let's assume that now you've done the client intake. Right after client intake, obviously you want to send your client a retainer agreement. So send them out a retainer letter right under the compliance tab and click on, a little retainer that you would like to receive from them. Okay, and somewhere here it would be mentioned that they owe you the sum, all the other information such as the communication, all the termination details, expenses, their responsibilities, your responsibilities, everything marked in there. So once they make the payment, you go into the retainer tab, click on new retainer, enter the retainer with the date on which they paid you, the method of payment, enter the reference number, receive from, and the best part is you can issue the receipt, all done under a minute. Okay, then you can download it. Okay, while that is out, you can quickly go back in and raise the invoice for the work so far done. Or if you're doing a disbursement, you can quickly add the disbursement from here just to show how you maintain the financials. Let's say you had a filing fee or something was paid from your general account, tax exempt. Make sure it's general or your business credit card, even better. Add in the references and save it. Okay, well, let's quickly complete the invoice, skip the preview, and invoice. I'm skipping the preview because I want to save some time here for you guys, but always try to do a preview, make sure everything looks good, the theme, the format, the invoicing bill, the numbers, date, everything, literally. So here you go with the date and the description, everything in there with the taxes and all respective to your province, the amount that you have received so far. And what is the amount due from your client. Go back in, you can click on question mark. We tell you like the little matter analytics as to how much you've received into trust, how much was invoiced, and how much is balance pending from your client. So first thing that you would like to do is transfer the money from trust to the general, just to make some money that you already have in the place as yours. So click on question mark, transfer. Of course, you would transfer the bank first, get the reference number, come over here, do this action, choose the method of payment, enter the reference number, click on transfer. Once you click on transfer, if you're an Ontarian, you need to do the Form 9A, which is also automated here for you in one click action. Okay, and you just have to put everything into it. So I go back, you click on matters, click on question mark, pending payment to be sent to the general account. Let's say they sent you an email transfer again. So the best part is you can record it then and there, give them another receipt and move on. Okay, quickly download the payment receipt. The best part here again is that you complete the action then and there, so you don't have to literally go back into the matter to do anything separate. So we take you to the next stage, right? Like when you download, when you get a retainer or when you get a payment, you add it in and you can generate the receipt then and there. Okay, quickly back in again to accounts to show you all the compliance documents that we have from client's trust, all the ledgers and the journals. Okay, and you can go back in there to the client's general, whatever came in and went out of general, to see how it worked. And one of the other important things is to see how the fee book shows you the information such as what was the actual fee charged and lastly, we also want to take out all the information regarding the disbursements or other journals, everything available at the bottom. Let's say if you had expended anything today, I think we did the filing fee, which was about $200, which will show up right here. This is the same thing that would also show up in the fee book. You will have the disbursement that you are charging them and the legal fee that you're charging. So the difference between the fee book is that over here it is the fee that you're collecting, and over here this is the expense you've made too. So you have both in one place. Okay. And if you take a look at the ledgers and the journals, shows you the money that has come in, including the taxes, then the money that was spent. This was the money that was invoiced. This was the money that came in through the trust transfer. Okay. And if you go into the trust ledger, shows you again the $400 was paid as the retainer, and then it was trust transferred against the invoice that was raised. So, as I mentioned, as part of the everything practice management, file management and financial management plays a huge role. Of course, the client intake is the primary thing. Now, if you've got these three things right, I think keeping yourself compliant with the law society, or keeping yourself, servicing your client better, giving them that sense of satisfaction, and that trust, especially building that trust, everything is super easy if you have all of that we discussed today in place by using a proper tool, ensuring that not only using a proper tool, but using all the features in the tool is equally important. Okay, so I don't know how many of you would download all those documents that we did, or go through the hassle of syncing your calendar. All of this is one-time work for you, but in long run, it helps you save time and in turn use this time for better practice management. So I'd like to end today's webinar saying that if you are not a uLaw user, try to give it a shot to keep yourself, basically compliant, at the same time satisfying your needs from, fulfilling your needs with in respect to what you want to service your client with, and ensure that all the documents the client-facing documents or the code forms or other forms, everything is generated within the software and helping you stay compliant more than all. So for the ones who are uLaw users but kind of find it difficult to navigate, I would be happy to share details on our chat window along with today's attendance link. And for the ones who can book like a webinar or a one-on-one seminar call with us, um, there are other options. So I will share all of those links now on the chat window with us. So do let us know if you have any questions at all from today's webinar. I will be here for another 5 minutes, so please do let us know. Once again, thank you all for joining in for today's session. It was wonderful walking you all through this, spectacular topic, one of my favorite ones. I hope I was able to communicate as much as possible, but if you feel there are some points that could be, a bit more elaborate or, even more explanatory, do feel free to let us know on the chat window. So that would be helpful for me. Your feedbacks are welcome. So at least next time I do the same webinar, it would be helpful for me to make the changes. Once again, thank you everyone and have a wonderful weekend. I am going to hang in here for another 5 minutes, like I said, but to take all your questions. But I'm only going to stop the recording to make it simple for others. So have a wonderful weekend, all of you. And next week, I'll see you with that topic. Thank you.